Welcome to the Mounting Block. I'm Oriel.
And I'm Marissa.
We're here to inspire each other and, of course, you, our listeners, as we navigate the wild ride of rediscovering our love for horses while juggling work, kids, businesses, and a million other things.
From tackling fears to finding time in between school drop-offs, spilled snacks, business meetings, and marriage, we're here to share the laughs, the lessons, and the occasional mishap in the saddle.
So grab a coffee, a wine, maybe even a lead rope if you're game, and join us for honest, uninterrupted conversations, a bit of mum life mayhem, and a whole lot of encouragement.
This is a Mounting Block. Let's get a leg over and join us for the ride.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to episode 2 of season 2 of the Mounting Block podcast.
Yes, we are back for another fun episode.
Yeah.
And this one we're going to talk about the new regime that we sort of dropped in last week with our new Hickory, that's who I'm riding, and her sleepover buddy Laney. And how much fun we just had.
Yes. So we didn't have a lesson this morning, but instead we just decided we were going to take Laney and Hickory and have a bit of a ride ourselves in the arena next door.
Which was such a big deal for us because we haven't ridden together on our own ever.
No.
We've always had a coach with us.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I don't know. I think I feel really brave about that.
Yep. Absolutely.
Really brave.
And, you know, considering, and for anybody who's been listening to the Mounting Block for a while, you would have seen our pas de deux experiment, which happened, I don't know, quite a few months ago now, 4 months ago.
Yeah. Where I had my Olympic dream of us becoming like a dynamic duo, and then it failed miserably in about 30 seconds.
I think it failed immediately, actually. I don't even think it took 15 minutes of
Correct.
30 seconds to fail. But the best thing about this was we were riding around in the arena together. And, you know, we didn't crash into each other.
We did not. We were respectful of each other's spaces.
Well, we did have a bit of a lesson on that from Tracy last time we rode with her. Didn't, you know, just a reminder where the fast horse goes.
Yes.
And isn't it left shoulder if you're going the opposite way?
I can't remember.
No, I think it was left shoulder. So for all you riders out there, sorry if I got it wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think the only time we sort of crossed paths on the arena, our horses very quickly told us they did not enjoy that.
No.
So Laney went for a bum bite on Hickory and Hickory flattened his back and was ready to give him a boot. So we went, oh, well, we've just learned how they feel about being too close to each other.
So we moved fairly rapidly away.
We did. But it was just it's a grass arena, so that's new for us. We've been in a very sandy sort of sand and tire, I guess.
Yeah, sand and rubber.
Yeah, sand and rubber, yeah. Yep. And so we've been in this grass arena. It's outdoors. And so it's sort of in amongst a big paddock, which is new for us as well.
Yep.
There's no fences.
No.
I mean, there's paddock fences, but the horses could still misbehave if they wanted to.
Yes, they could.
And we just, I don't know, we did some snaky things, and we did some trotting things. Serpentines.
Yep. And we did, we were both trying to get the horses into self-carriage.
We were.
So we did that in walk. You did that beautifully with Hickory and walk, and then you managed to do it in trot too. And then the first few strides of your canter.
Yeah, where you were so funny. You were yelling out at me, relax. And I was like, yeah, relax, Marissa, relax.
Well, just when you first popped into it, you looked really tense. And you know how I'd said on that trail ride I went with Will, and he'd said, you got to relax. You're not going to enjoy it if you're not. And it made such a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you were bang on the money. I'm really glad you yelled at me. Or yelled out at me. Not yelled at me, but yelled out to me. Encouraged me to relax. Because the moment I did, then I was like, yeah, you're right. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I going like a pig?
No, what
my
happens?
goat. But it was so fun, and we just had this sort of like, I guess, a little bit of freedom, and we just figured it out, didn't we?
We did, yeah. We just did a bit of a walk, bit of a trot, bit of a canter.
Yeah.
And the horses were both beautiful. They were both amazing.
Yeah, they were. She's so little compared to Laney. When I'm riding next to you, I think, oh my gosh, I'm just like this little pocket rocket.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
But the other thing that we've done since we last spoke is we went and we did a clinic.
We did.
Yes. Now, we do talk about the fabulous Will a lot on this podcast. And
Will from Equine on the Move.
Yep. And Will took us for a to our clinic. There was 4 of us.
Yes.
Doing the clinic, and it was a horsemanship and confidence building clinic, and we did it in an obstacle course.
Yes. Yeah, that was a lot to unpack just then, Oriel. You did well. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah. And so we did things like the horses got the horse walking up onto a pallet that was balanced. So it was almost like a seesaw.
Yeah.
So the horse had to walk over it first of all and feel that pallet move.
Yes.
As the horse's weight moved, and walked around with us. And then we did it. Then they had to do it with us just standing still, and they walked in a circle around us.
Yes.
And then we had to get them to stop in the middle of the pallet, and we sort of leaned back and leaned forward, and they were sort of rocking on the pallet. Incredible that they did it. Absolutely blows my mind.
Yeah, they were amazing. And then going through noodles, like pool noodles, where they sort of hit their bums and they're sticking out, but they're, soft and gentle, but enough, for them to get a little spook as they want to, go through.
Yeah.
And we went over a bridge. There was like a bridge pallet there. We went over some crunchy sort of tarp material.
Yep.
And yeah, it was, but the groundwork stuff was amazing, because I think I learnt a lot about where my position needs to be when I'm holding a horse.
Yes.
And having the authority over the horse, that they are looking for leaders, and the rope, and how we sort of use that as a tool. And I found that really, really interesting. And even today when we were washing Laney, I was holding him while you were giving him a bath.
Yep.
And he took 2 steps forward onto me, and I was like, mate, that's not what we do.
No.
I did not ask you, so let's back up too.
Yeah.
But I know I wouldn't have done that prior. I would have just thought, he just took 2 steps forward and not thought of anything more of it. So even that learning and solidifying that sort of groundwork stuff, I think, has been really, really good, really important. And it's so important because they'll have it over it so quickly. Yeah.
So we did the groundwork, and then we did all the whole obstacle course actually on the horse too. So we did it both on the ground and then put it into action.
Yeah. And some parts of that was really good, and I felt really confident. Some parts felt really scary, and pushed my fear levels a little bit.
Yeah.
But you didn't seem to be too nervous. Well, you were pretty good, weren't you?
I was, and I think that's because I had done something similar with Will a couple of weeks before, so I knew what to expect, I suppose, and I'd seen Laney do all of it.
Well, you conquered a massive fear. So in this obstacle course, there are these huge tyres, and they go they step up to, there's 4 tyres in a row, and they step up and then they come down the other side. Actually, we'll pop a photo up, because you have a photo of Laney, not on him, but standing on it, to sort of give, context to how big these tyres are. I will say, Oriel, you look like a little person standing next to this gigantic thoroughbred up on these tyres, because he's very big.
He's very big. But and the tyres were big, like they're the big, massive, sort of mining truck tyres.
Yeah. And what did you do, Oriel? What did you achieve?
Well, so Will said, so now you've gotten Laney over it, standing next to the tyres. Now you hop on and you can ride over them. And I said, no, thank you. No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm scared of heights. So, I'm already on a massive, massive horse. And then to get on these massive tyres, I was like, no, I don't really think I need to be doing that at all. Anyway, I kept on doing the obstacle course, and I thought that was that. And sure enough, I thought I was going to get away with it. And about literally 10 seconds later, there's Will popped up at my side, and he was like, come on, we're going over it now.
And you said, no, thanks.
Said, no, thanks. And he's like, no, we're going over it. And over it we went twice.
You're amazing.
And it wasn't actually that bad. It wasn't that scary.
Isn't that amazing? So, build things up in your head.
Yeah,
and then
don't we?
Yeah, you conquered the fear.
Yeah.
And you should be really proud of yourself, because I didn't do that. I went sideways over them, but I didn't go up and over them.
That sounds worse.
Part.
That sounds worse, sideways.
It does sound worse, but it's much smaller. I did lead the horse that I was using over them, but I didn't ride it over because I didn't feel confident in that.
But you weren't riding your own horse. That's
true.
That's
true.
Very, very different. You didn't know him as well as, I know Laney.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'd sort of been in that situation a few weeks before, but I hadn't ridden over him a few weeks before.
Yeah. And you were sort of psyched out about it beforehand too.
Yeah, well, I decided, or I knew Will was going to ask me to do it, and I knew I was going to say no thank you.
Yeah. But you did it. So that is super, really, really impressive. Yeah. And I missed it. I was really sad. I missed seeing it.
Well, I want to thank Will for that, actually, because, if he hadn't popped up beside me and said, come on, we're doing it, then I wouldn't have done.
Yeah. Shout out to Will. He's the confidence booster.
Well, wasn't it a fabulous clinic though,
It
on
was
so many levels?
so fun.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. We learnt so much. And yeah, it was a confidence builder for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do another one of those Will clinics.
Yep.
What else has he got in store for us?
Well, his next one that we're going to do, Marissa, is he's going to do a float clinic with us. So we are going to learn how to drive a float, which for all of you who do drive a car with a caravan or a float or whatever it is that you tow, it looks easy, but it's not.
Yeah, well, apparently it's like towing water with the horses in it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Even better.
I know. I don't quite understand what that means, but I guess we'll find out. and you've got to reverse differently, don't you? You have to reverse in reverse.
Yeah, you have to do the opposite way that makes sense.
Yeah, see.
Yeah.
I mean, I struggled at that clinic with just putting the rope in my left hand instead of the right hand. So I don't know how I'll go with reversing incorrectly. But anyway, we'll watch that space.
Well, the only thing I have ever towed on the back of a car is a big light that I had to take from the hire place to the school for the fete.
In a trailer?
It was sort of came on a trailer.
Okay,
like, one of those big lights.
I was going to say you weren't just dragging a light behind you in the road.
I don't think that's legal.
I was going to say, Oriel.
We know you do some weird things. There's a limit to these things.
So there was a trailer.
Sort of ones, I don't know if you've seen them in events and they stay on the trailer at the events and just park the trailer. And so it's a small thing, right? And not really that heavy. And I was like, whoa, I don't think I can do this.
Oh.
The guy at the hire place said, would you like some lessons? I was like, yes, please.
You're doing nothing for women. The civilization of women and the progressiveness, Oriel.
Sorry, but literally I stopped at that tiny little curb to get out on the road, and I just sat there, and he was like, "You right?" And I was like, "No, not really."
Help me. Well, yes, okay. So we're definitely going to do the floating.
We're going to be doing.
We're going to do the floating.
Yeah.
The floating clinic. Thanks, Will.
Yeah.
We'll take that one. Yeah. If anyone's got any tips on how to get us confident on that as well, please feel free to shout out and send them in, because we're going to have to at some point.
It's going to be a journey.
Do this, even just loading the horses on, doing all of that stuff correctly.
Yeah, or off.
Or off. Yeah. Or off.
Yeah.
That's true. They have to come off on the other end. So, it was a really, really big week for us.
Yeah.
And big week for us a big day today for us to do that on our own and be, pull up our big girl pants.
And it's really nice to have something, we have talked quite a lot over the last few weeks, or certainly at the end of season 1, about lack of confidence and losing confidence. And I feel like we've just had a really positive week.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Quite a few different levels. So, it is such an up and down and all the way around sort of story. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. And, it's so nice to do it together. I think, we gave each other a big hug today because we were like, it's just so nice to do this together and have a buddy in this. And I think safety in numbers as well. Like we're down in that arena together. And if something happened, I'm there, and vice versa. So, no, it's been really, really fun.
Yeah.
Our new little regime. So far, so good.
Yeah.
One weekend.
So far, so good. That's right. So far, so good. Yeah.
So at the end of last season, we spoke to a lovely lady by the name of Claire Riley.
Yes.
So we actually invited her back, and we pre-recorded this. And because we've taken a break, we were holding it to share with everyone when we came back. But Claire Riley, if you recall, is a business mentor. She's a coach. She was super fabulous with telling us how to do side hustles and how to, back yourself and all that sort of stuff. But she actually shared with us a really great conversation. And so she gave us permission to record this episode. And it's all about how she navigated post-separation, the split from her husband, and the last few years, and how that's all been, what advice she'd give to people who are going through this and managing, as a single mum with 2 beautiful children. So she was really open and honest with a lot of it, obviously protected as much as she could about her kids' identities and their private space, which we, of course, respected.
Absolutely.
But it was a really interesting chat, and we're really honoured.
Yeah, it was very heartfelt, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. So we're really honoured that she's been, open with us and is happy for us to share this. So that's what we're going to do, hey?
Yeah.
I'm going to introduce that episode with Claire Riley.
So here's Claire.
Here's Claire. Hey, Claire. Good to see you again.
Oh, so nice to have you back again.
Oh, thanks for having me back again.
A little bit of a different topic today.
Yeah. So last time we spoke to Claire, we spoke about the business side of things. But this time we picked up, obviously, last time you mentioned about going through a divorce and changing your name and doing that from a business perspective. But you said you were happy to have a chat about what that looks like for women who might be going through something similar and how to prepare for that. And I should probably caveat this conversation by saying to my husband, I'm not preparing.
Not preparing to leave you.
Just in case he gets paranoid. He does enjoy this podcast.
And same with mine. Darling, we're fine.
However, you're all safe. However, there are many people who do go through this, and certainly I've had friends, and I mean, Oriel, you've been through a separation, but you didn't have kids involved in a previous life.
Yeah.
So
it's much more complicated when there are little ones involved, I think. But how are you, first of all? How are you holding up?
I'm great, thank you. It's 6.5 years in the making, so it's not new or anything like that. Interestingly, we've had a bit of a rough period, so we have had some mediation recently. But what's actually interestingly happened, and it's probably really good timing with our chat, is that I've reached out to some friends and probably put in some of my closed networks about this mediation and feeling quite anxious and stressed and all that sort of thing. And as a result, I've had a few people come out of the woodwork and be like, yeah, me too, just about to go through it or going through it or whatever. And, kind of seeing things through their eyes, where one of them is, I think, 6 months post-separation and one of them's kind of going through the muckiness of living together, but it's in the works and that sort of thing. So yeah, kind of good timing to revisit some things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that we always want to achieve with these conversations in our podcast is to do exactly what you just said, make sure people feel that there's others that are going through things with them and that they're not alone. So even you just putting that out there and other people have come forward and said, someone else to talk to or whatever, I imagine that's a huge part of it, because at the beginning of when you're thinking about separating, I mean, is that something you talked to far and wide, or was it just something that you were going through really internally with yourself?
Yeah, for me, it was a very internal thing. I don't think I even really talked to my friends about how bad things were until it was over, until the decision had been made. Partly probably because I'm an introvert, and introverts typically think, maybe say something and then think, rather than kind of extroverting to get to a solution. I just did, the introverting thing for quite some time, and it wasn't until after we'd separated and then I was talking to friends about it, and like they'd ask questions and I was probably a bit more candid in my responses, that even I was hearing the words coming out of my mouth and being like, holy shit, it was even worse than I probably admitted at the time, sort of thing. So it wasn't something that I talked about with anyone really. I mean, we all kind of have a little bitch about our husbands from time to time when things like that happen, but I definitely no, I mean, company excluded, of course.
Oh no, he knows. He knows.
No, they all do.
They all do.
So it was a big surprise, I think, to a lot of people, and it was a really interesting thing, actually. And one of the women who have reached out to me in the last week or so, she was actually in a group. I knew her through business, but we sort of had a friendship and that sort of thing as well. And I reckon it was probably within, I don't know, a week, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks of me and my ex having that conversation and deciding we were going to go our separate ways, that I kind of, like, my default was go to my cave. I'm just going to go to my cave, go like all, night ops kind of thing, don't talk to anyone, figure it out myself, fix everything myself, sort everything out, and then once I'm on the other side, then I'll just announce it, kind of thing, was definitely my default. But something inside me was like, you can't do that. Like, it's not going to work if you don't have your village. And I actually sent a message to, I think there were 7 women in the message, 7 plus me in this group message, and I said, I just need to be witness, basically just need to tell someone we've split the sheets, we're separating, I don't know what I need from you, I don't know what I'm going to need from you right now, I just needed to share it, I suppose. And that was so uncomfortable for me. And I actually found I've actually had written the draft message in my iNotes And I found that recently when I was cleaning up my iNotes of like how I was, and I probably agonized over it and like made sure that it was the right blah, blah, blah. This is before ChatGPT could help you. So I put it out there, and none of them came back with platitudes. None of them came back with like, fuck him, that's, good for you. Or none of them came back with, oh my God, you poor thing, you okay? They all just came back and were like, cool, we're here when you're ready.
Yeah.
And that was like, it was just so powerful that I knew it was just like whatever that saying is, like a problem shared is a problem halved, or whatever that kind of vibe is. Yeah. It was like, now that I'm not by myself, and when I do need something, I don't have to give the backstory. I can just be like, yo, I need a thing. It just made it so much easier. And I think that was such a game changer. And so, like I said, one of those women actually was one of the ones who reached out last week and was like, guess what? Me too. And, we had a bit of a chat, and she was like, look, it's she said, I keep thinking, if Clay can do it, I can do it too. If Clay can do it, I can do it too. I was like, oh my gosh, like that means so much to me. I'm like, you talked on the last episode about, when you have the vulnerability or the bravery or whatever label you want to slap on it, it actually holds the door open for other people to feel much more safe and comfortable to do the same sort of thing. And that, being an eternal people pleaser means a lot to me. So that's one of my little tricky ways of tricking myself into being vulnerable and all of that sort of thing. Because I'm like, I'm just doing it for everyone else. Actually, I'm doing it for me. But
I actually need it.
But I can help someone else by doing it. But I think it's even harder, whether you're the female or the male in a relationship that breaks up, it's so much harder when there are children involved. Because all of a sudden you're living the single life, right? And you have your kids some of the time, whether it's 50% or 70% or whatever the split is that's decided between the couple, you've got your kids some of the time. So there's two things that I want to ask about that, but what do you do when you don't have the kids, and how does that make you feel? But then when you do have the kids, you're a single parent, right? So if you've got more than one, I don't know how many kids you've got, Claire, but, you're driving around and you're supporting them and you're doing all of those sorts of things. So maybe let's focus on that part of the question first.
Look, the practical side of it, I was, I guess in some ways lucky. I don't know if that's the right word, but when I was married, my husband worked away quite a lot. So he was doing FIFO right like up until and even after we split up. So I was kind of already in those routines of being by myself 3 weeks with him for a week. So I kind of already had all that sort of thing down pat. It was pretty comfortable and that sort of thing. It was probably more the getting ready for financially being alone and having, like literally no one else to go. Not that there's never no one else or, all of that sort of thing. It was probably more of a mindset thing going from being like being a
dual
solo
income
parent.
With
dual income to being a solo parent or a single parent with one income and still the same amount of responsibility kind of thing. So that was probably, financially as a whole, it's probably the biggest part of the whole thing, to be honest. Mindset and readiness and actually getting things rolling afterwards and that sort of thing was probably the biggest thing that stood in my way, as well as the biggest hurdle to overcome, once push came to shove sort of thing. So but on a practical level, I was really lucky that it wasn't like I was going from having 4 hands every mealtime to 2. It was pretty much always just me. So that was fine. Fiercely independent, a little bit of a, over the top person here. So it was fine. What was the other question? What was the first thing? Oh, about not having the kids there all the time. It's a real double-edged sword, and it still is. So it's been 6.5 years. The kids were 4 and 5, 4 and 6 maybe when we made the announcement. And by the time we moved from Brisbane to the sunny coast, they were 5 and 7 or 5 and 6, almost 7. And now they're almost 13 and almost 11. So it's a very, very different being a single parent to 12 and 13-year-olds as it was to being of 4 and 5-year-olds and the things that they faced and that sort of thing. I think when they first started spending time away from me, it was horrendous. And I'm not going to say it's not horrendous now. There's still times when I say goodbye to them and it's like tears for the next 3 hours because it's just wrong. It just sucks. It absolutely sucks, and I can't sugarcoat that. It sucks. Yeah. Having said that, there were also times when things were working really well where I was like, wow, this is actually kind of cool because I know the kids are safe and they're having fun when they're not with me, which means I also have this like whole new opportunity world to do things that I want to do, whether it's business or lying on the couch and not having to be someone's snack bitch, or going on dates, or, do you know, like there was this kind of beautiful freedom, but also this, it's double-edged sword. Like, this is nice freedom. I can do whatever I want, but all I want is to actually spend time with my kids.
Your kids,
You know, it's sometimes it's great, sometimes it sucks, and it's tough. It sucks.
Yeah. And the financial side of things that you speak about, I think you said it was one of the biggest barriers, and I imagine that you're so intertwined, right? Typically as a married couple, and your finances are just so together.
And where you live and your house.
Yeah,
and your
all of
mortgage
it, and who decides to leave that situation and all that. How do you suggest people navigate that? Like, what have you learned from that?
There's so many things. I was chatting with the other lady who contacted me the other day, who's going through the same sort of thing, and she's getting a bit shafted by her ex. And I'm like, I got on my big high horse about this one, not high horse, my ranty soapbox. I think, just go back a little bit further, probably a year or two before we separated, I was obsessed with maths. Really, married at first sight. I know, sorry, but I was.
You and millions of other people.
Everyone else.
Yeah.
But I was obsessed with it. I loved it. It's so horrendous. It really is just absolute.
I think I watched the first season.
Obsessed with it. Yeah, and I now don't watch it because I just felt like I lost 3 months of my life watching it. Sort of thing. But interestingly, I noticed one year, and like I said, this is years before we broke up. In the ad breaks, there were all of these ads for going through a separation. Here's where we're at. And one of them was for a bank. I can't remember which bank it was, but, we take the financial stress out of the separation part so you can focus on your kids, blah, blah, blah. It was all very heartfelt and all that sort of thing. I was like, just out of curiosity, I want to see what this separation starter pack looks like from a bank. And I went and downloaded it, and it was something like 71 pages in type and then like 0.8 font, double columns of all the things you need to consider and prepare for and know about before you separate, to the point that I can imagine people would just be like, this is too fucking hard, I'm not doing it.
Not going anywhere.
Because it was too hard. Like, it was so overwhelming, and reading through it, none of it was, I can't remember what was in it. None of it was random. It was all like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Oh yeah, how would we do that? Oh, that'll be an awkward conversation to have. Or like all of those sort of things. It just makes it like, all right, well, let's make sure we work on the relationship a bit more, because that sounds like shit. So that was the first thing, that even the thought, even before it was even an idea that we would split up, it was like, well, that's too hard basket sort of thing. I guess then the closer it got, and I think we probably both knew this conversation was coming quite a way in advance. Yeah. So the 3 people that we went to find, so the first one was a parenting coach to talk about, if this happens, how I think it's going to happen, what do we do with the kids? Like, how much and when do we tell them? What do we tell them? What don't we tell them? What if they've got questions? What if they have a meltdown? All of those sorts of things. So she really mapped things out for us about what to say, what not to say. And when everything is a mess and everything's emotional and everything's shit, having something that was very specific and like the very clear do's and don'ts was like a godsend. So she was really great. I also spoke to a lawyer, just like, what do I need to know? What don't I know? Because I have never done this before. I have no idea what's going to blindside me, what's going to come up, what decisions do we need to make, all of that sort of thing. And the third person was a money person. Like, I need to, safeguard myself and the kids. I need to make sure that I, walk away with what's fair. I need to make sure that I'm not like stepping out and going to end up homeless, because maybe that's not the best option, and like, let's look at all the options. So really, really purposely and intentionally found those people, because I felt like they were the ones that I didn't have the tools that I needed to, or didn't have enough information. So that was really helpful for someone to say, this is what you need to do. These are the conversations you need to have. These are the decisions you need to make. These are some safeguards you can put in place. This is what you need to start doing for the next couple of weeks or months or whatever. So that you're as prepared as possible. It's always going to be a bit shit. It's always going to be hard. But if we can take a couple of those things down a notch on the hardness scale, that would be ideal sort of thing. So I think it was just a bit of a reality check. Even things like, and this is, again, a conversation I was having with this friend the other day. I was like, what about Centrelink? Oh, no. hadn't thought of it, and then was a bit like, and I said, you've got to, you know, I felt so ashamed going to Centrelink and being like, I haven't been on Centrelink since I was 19, and I did that for 3 weeks, and I hated going to Centrelink so much that I cancelled. I was like, fuck this, I'll just get a job.
Did exactly the
Same,
same thing.
right?
I did exactly the
Couldn't do
same
it.
thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So mindset in my head, I was like, I had a lot of the, you know, mindset stuff around handouts, and I'd always worked really hard. I've been, you know, employed and paying for my own stuff since I was 14. So having Centrelink sort of thing had not factored in, but just having a finance person saying, well, you'll be probably eligible for this, this and this. You just need to ask Centrelink. I was like, oh, I don't really want to do that. But if that's the difference between being able to feed my children and not, well, guess where I'm going tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, and there's no shame about it. And now I'm like, you know, someone said the other day, I remember, I think it was the same person. She was like, I've paid tax for 25 years. I can totally get $200 a fortnight. It's not much, but fuck.
Yeah.
We've done that. So, you know, taking away that whole, and I think
it's there if you need
it. It's there if you need it. And you need it.
Yeah.
End of story. You need it. And, you know, I've had another friend who I was chatting with about money stuff, and she's all of this, like, get your money, honey. Like, don't be stuffing around. And it's probably, you know, something that everyone says at the beginning is get everything written down, do it through the courts or through a lawyer or whatever, which we didn't, which I personally didn't. And now I'm like, do it through the courts, get it all like above board and that sort of thing to protect yourself, because right now it's all hunky-dory, but it might not always be hunky-dory.
That seems to be, you know, everyone attempts to do it amicably to begin with, but, you know, I think there's very small percentage of people where it actually does end up on the longer term scale remaining like that. Which is why family lawyers exist, you know.
So when it comes to telling the children, what was the advice that you got about when you tell them and how you tell them? And, you know, for anyone listening that's thinking about that, what should they think about?
Yeah, so it was Jodie Thornton who we spoke to, and she's still a parenting coach and very, very good one. She, the biggest thing that probably sticks in my head was that she was like, don't tell them anything you're not sure about. So if you are not sure where they're going to be living in 6 months, don't tell them something and then have to change it. Just say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or so you can say things that you absolutely know, like you will have 2 homes. We know that's going to be the case. We don't know how much time you're going to spend at each. We don't know what the addresses are going to be yet, but we know that you will spend 2, blah, blah, blah. We know that you'll still go to the same school. That won't change. We know that you'll still have chicken nuggets for dinner on a Friday. We know that we'll still have Nana and Granddad coming around on the weekends, like those sort of things. So giving them the surety of the things that will change, but not bullshitting the things that you don't know about. So being really honest about, we don't know what this is going to look like. We don't know what your new bedroom is going to look like. We, you know, and don't make promises. And I think a lot of people, we try and compensate for, well, we're stuffing you up, so we're going to buy you a pony, or we'll go to Bali 5 times a year. Like we overpromise and then you can't deliver, and then there's just that gap, you know, and disappointment and that sort of thing. So
it's great. It's like giving permission to actually say I don't know, but still giving them some sort of structure of things that they can have a surety over. I like that. Yeah, I think that seems really sensible.
And just keeping the door open for them to continuously ask questions. And I mean, our kids, like I said, were 4 and 5, and they responded the opposite of what we thought. We thought one of them would be go to pieces and the other one would be like, yeah, whatever. And it was the opposite. So the one that we thought would go to pieces was like, cool, can I go play now? And the other one like lost their shit sort of thing. So it was interesting for us to see how that kind of played out, and over the following months and years how it pops up. And, you know, there was times where either or both of them would be wishing at Christmas time that mum and dad got back together, and we're like, it's been 3 years, like really? But it's still there for them, whereas we're thinking like, fuck, it's like distant memory kind of thing, but it's still really real for them. Or, you know, they would just have different expectations. So making sure that the door's always open, whether you're proactively asking them how you're feeling about things, or, you know, are you missing dad, or, you know, really opening those conversations so that they can bring that stuff up again, I think is really important. So she was really big on, you know, making sure that they've got a place to ask their questions and stuff as well.
It's interesting. My parents got divorced when I was probably early 20s, maybe late teens, early 20s. And I do recall the one thing that my mum said, which has always stayed with me is that she never badmouthed Dad. She never said anything negative about him. And in, later years now, I'm talking about that, how important that really is for the kids.
Yeah.
That they don't hear anything negative about the other parent. And
I wish I could say the same about my parents. My dad's no longer here with us, but my mum listens to this podcast, so sorry, Mum. Didn't follow those rules. It's okay. I'm stronger for it.
You're stronger for it. There you go.
I was chatting with my my partner the other day because I still have my engagement. I actually had 2 engagement rings, which is a whole other story from that marriage, and I still have them. We were just chatting, and I said, well, I think it's important. The kids, my first engagement ring was actually using the diamonds from my mum and dad's ring. They split up. Mum came home and said, I've got something to tell you, and Dad said, I've got something to tell you, and Mum said, I'm pregnant, and Dad said, I want a divorce. So they've been like split the sheets since before the beginning of time. So I don't have any memories of them being together.
Yeah, wow.
But I got the diamonds out of Mum and Dad's engagement ring and turned that into my first engagement ring. So that means something to me. And I also have their wedding album, their photo album, and it means nothing to them if not anything that's not positive. But to me, there's proof as a grown-up that they did love each other at some point, and that's really important to me. So I think exactly what you were saying, like it's so important. The kids know we're not together, we're never going to be together again, but there's these little bits of proof, whether it's I've kept my rings and I've kept my things, whether they want them in the future. If they don't want them, they can go in the bin, fine. But there's just little paraphernalia that proves that we were a family, and we're still obviously a family. It just looks a bit different, and I think that's really important. I'm a bit of a sentimental old softie. I don't know if my kids will be when they're older. They might be like, what's this piece of rubbish? Everything's on my iPhone now. But
no, I think that's lovely. I think that's a really I love looking at my parents' wedding album, even though they weren't together anymore. I think it's super special to know that at some point there was love there, and at some point there was a reason for them to be together. And I think there's a lot of strength in that. And whether they didn't they weren't each other's people for the rest of their lives, that's okay, but there was a reason they were together, and for whatever for us to be able to have that evidence of that. And I think that's super lovely, Claire.
It's a
nice take on
we
it.
were together 15 years. We've known each other half our lives. It's not going to go away. That's not going to change. And we fucking loved each other. We had great years. We had an awesome relationship. We did awesome adventures. We had a great life together until we didn't. But that doesn't make it go away. Yeah. It still exists. And, I remember we've traveled quite a lot and spent 6 months in Europe. And I remember we had a bit of a rough patch at one point, and I was like, oh, what a shame. I'll never be able to share my Europe photos anymore if we're not together anymore. And I was like, actually, and that was such a big thing for me. I'm like, but it makes that less special, but actually it doesn't. It's just different now. But at the time it was still fucking awesome. It was still great. And I want, I talk about those times all the time to the kids, Dad and I did this and Dad and I did that. Yeah. And it's not in a woe is me, I miss it so much. It's just in a it was a great time in my life, and I'm not going to pretend everything's shit because it's shit now. It was great then. So why shouldn't they, have that happy, I guess that satisfaction, it's not the right word, but that knowing
comfort, I guess.
Comfort and that they came into a beautiful, loving relationship and family and house, and that's not how it kind of ended, but it was like that.
Yeah. What would you say to experiencing what you've experienced, and the downside and the hardship and all of those sorts of things, and those pockets of kind of joy in there? But what would you say to someone who says, I'm not happy, he's not happy, but we're staying together for the kids?
That's the biggest load of rubbish I've ever heard. I get it, and I totally was there a little bit, I suppose, as well. But I think my biggest internal thought for quite some time before we made the decision was, this is not the life I want for myself. This is not the life I want for myself. And if I saw my daughter doing that and living in a relationship that she was unhappy with, so deeply unhappy with, and so misaligned to values that were probably different to when they got together, I would be like, well, let's get you out. That's, and I couldn't conscionably continue on and let her see for the next 20 years that was how it should be. So that was probably the biggest thing for me, is I don't want this to be normal, because it's not normal. This is not the life I want. This is not how I want to be doing life. This is not the conversations. This is not how I want to feel. This is not fun. Like I don't want to do this for another 15 years, let alone show my daughter and get her doing it for the next 40 years. That's stupid. So I think probably comes back to that again, like I'm going to do it for the kids. Like,
set the example.
I guess so. Yeah. And, it was a really tricky conversations when the kids would often be like, asking questions about it and that sort of thing, and trying to explain to a 5-year-old we just couldn't get along, and like we're happier when we're not together and we're still friends and all that sort of thing, but trying to explain like I'm a better person now that we're not.
We might just do
in the same relationship.
We just lost you for a moment. So you would just, if you want to just jump in with back the tricky conversations were.
We didn't hear after that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So having tricky conversations when the kids were asking questions about getting back together and why did we split up and all of that sort of thing, and assuring them that we are happier not being together and that sort of thing. It's a difficult conversation to have because it doesn't look like it all the time, and it certainly doesn't feel like it all the time. And having to keep a stiff upper lip telling your kids that everything's fine and you're happier when you're having a really shitty day is obviously, a tricky thing.
That's just parenting in general, though, isn't it?
Just parenting in general. So, I mean, you want to be vulnerable and real and emotional as well. But, I think helping them to understand that you have to honour yourself before anything else. And when there's such a big gap between your values and how you're living, and you start seeing that, you can't unsee it. And that's the trickiest thing, I think, when you're like, oh, fuck, this is really not what I want, and feeling that on such a deep level and being like, well, I can't just continue pretending anymore. Like, what's the point? It gets pretty demoralizing pretty quickly. So, it's tricky conversations to have with them. But I really do believe that, especially for my daughter, probably, that her having seen that I'm honouring what I need and, all of that sort of thing in a very respectful and kind way to everyone is how, hopefully she can do things like that as well. So, my son is almost 13, he's 12 and a half, and he's starting to have girlfriends and all that sort of thing. And so having conversations with him as well about breaking up respectfully, and like, you don't have to be a prick when you break up with someone, whether they've broken up with you or you break up with them or whatever. You can still be kind and and respectful, and don't trash talk, like having those conversations now. And it sort of feels like they're like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, oh, well, that's good. It's not just because I've told you, because they've also seen that model mostly. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
What's, is there regret or any sadness in it? And the reason I ask that is, I mean, it's a huge change, and not regretting like you don't wish you did it, or maybe you wish you did it earlier. I don't know, but I've got a close person in my life who went through a big separation, and her little one was quite young when they went through it. And I remember her saying to me that the toughest thing she found was that person who she shared every minute detail about the kid with was no longer that person anymore. So she found that really, really difficult to sort of go, I wanted to just pick up the phone and call him and tell him, oh, he did this today. And no one else really cares as much of what colour your kid's poo is, or, what silly painting they've made that day. And I think that was an emotionally really challenging part for her to get, around. And I'd just be interested to know if there was sadness or anything in that for you.
Look, it's one of those things where I think initially it was like, great, everything's good, we're out, everything's clean, we've sold the house, we've moved out, like everything was moving along nice and swimmingly until I guess something happened. And I can't remember. I know, he started seeing someone and it started getting a bit serious, and I had this reaction that I was like, why am I feeling this? Because I'm dating as well. Like, it's not like he's the only one who's moved on and I'm still like hoping we get back together, because that was never on the cards and never something that I wanted. Once we'd made the decision, that was final sort of thing. But it was definitely this like, and I felt sometimes more probably along the lines of like, she's getting what I should have gotten. And I felt like, well, if he can do that for someone else on the dating scene, why couldn't I get that as the mother of his children and someone who was with him for 15 years? That felt really just probably unfair, and fairness and equality is a very, very important value to me. So I was like, it's not fair. Like, I did all the things and I didn't get blah, blah, blah. And now she's just rocked up and she's getting it. Like, that's not fair. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a like, I want that. It was I wish I could have had that. Like, it would have been great, but it didn't. So there was probably more of that, like, it sounds like I'm just being an insolent little bitch, but actually there's some deep-seated like needs that weren't being met for a long time. And probably vice versa as well. You know, I'm not a victim in this situation. We were both, you know, part of it and that sort of thing. But yeah, there was definitely moments of feeling resentment probably more than anything, and a bit of just sadness. Like, it's not what I expected our life to look like. And just, you know, it's not you know, I didn't get married thinking it was going to end sort of thing. That's not what you go into that sort of relationship sort of feeling. Although, you know, I was never really attached to forever. My parents were separated. Like, I've never known, you know, close family or friends who've been together forever. So it wasn't something I was super attached to, but I certainly didn't go in thinking that it was, you know, going to end or anything like that. So a bit of resentment, I guess. From time to time, there's been moments where you think, fuck, is it worth it, or should we have just stayed together, because then this current drama that we're dealing with right now wouldn't be a drama. But then in perspective, all the other things would have continued to be a drama up to this time anyway, and what's the payoff? So there's no regrets. I don't regret anything. I think I know we've made the right decision. You know, probably some of the practicalities, like I mentioned before, about having things legally squared away, even when they felt like we didn't really need it, would have been the smarter option from the beginning, just to make sure that I was talking to someone just in a kind of similar thing today about terms and conditions, like having your terms and conditions and having your set boundaries in your business doesn't mean you have to follow them, but it means you've got something to fall back on if you need it. So it's the same sort of thing with this. Like, if you've got something in place, then you can use it or not use it. But if you need it, it's there. Right? If you need it and it's not there, you're kind of starting from behind the 8 ball already. So, yeah, that's probably my biggest, I wouldn't say regret, but something that I would definitely advise people who are thinking of it is, even if it feels like too good to be true, literally we had a article written about us in the ABC, I think it's the Mind, Body, Soul magazine or something like that, about co-parenting, because they did a call out in a single mums Facebook group for people who felt like they were co-parenting really well. So I wrote in and got interviewed and all that sort of thing, and had my photo on it. And I was like, look at us, we're the poster children for co-parenting. We have got our shit together. And we would send each other messages all the time, like, we are nailing this divorce. We're so good. Like, the kids are happy. We're happy. Everything's all sorted, until it wasn't. So, and you know, and so much time's passed. You know, so much time's passed, and you kind of expect it to just keep on going. But there's you know, new people come into the scene and new situations pop up. And I mean, there's a reason we didn't work out, because we disagreed over a lot of things, and we still disagree over a lot of things, and that's not going to change. So, so having things in place that are a safety net for you and for the kids from day dot, whether you use the safety net or not, but if you don't have a safety net, it's not there. So
and you have made it out the other side, and thank you so much for chatting to us about it. I mean, it's
you're so welcome.
It's a very vulnerable topic, I think, and very personal, and we really appreciate it.
Very brave.
Very brave.
Very brave to chat about it, and in the hope, I imagine, you know, in your brain of putting it out there, now knowing you in this level, it's to help others.
It is. And it's like I said, when I got those phone calls and messages last week, and I was able to kind of get a bit soapboxy, and also I just sort of went into practical mode, like, you need to do this. And I sent her a message afterwards with like websites and links and phone numbers she needed to call, and exactly what steps, because I also know when you're in that shit of trying to, you know, figure everything out, it goes in one ear and out the other ear, and you're like, what did they say, sort of thing. But having it stepped out, like I said, like a really clear, do this, don't do this, was super helpful. So I just sprang into like, let's get practical.
Let's get practical.
Let's get practical.
I love it. Yeah, you're so brave. Thanks so much for chatting about all of that. It's amazing.
Welcome.
And go you. I know. But you know, you're happy, the kids are great, and 6.5 years on, you still got a beautiful smile on your face, and You still look
Things
as
are
youthful
good.
as ever.
Things are good. Ah, lol. It's the retinol. Thanks.
Amazing.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Claire.
So good to chat again.
Thanks,
Thank you for having me again.
So good
And-
to chat.
Yeah, and thanks for all of our listeners for joining us on this journey. We've learned so much across these podcasts. haven't we?
Yeah, we sure have. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Awesome.
Fab people.
See you all later.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.